Hi and welcome to a tutorial on Fabrik 3.1 for dealing with detail view templates. So I'll let you show you the details view we're going to be working on first of all. So this is a default protostar Joomla template, and I've got a my places table that I've been working on with some additional information, the name of the place you created it, where it is, some tags and some extra information down the bottom. And that's kind of pretty dull and it's not particularly readable in the default format, so I'm going to try and spice that up a bit with a custom template. So if I take you over to Eclipse, this is where I write my templates. It's a text editor, fancy text editor. If you look on the left hand side, we have the layout of a Joomla site, so the administrator folder, etc, etc. Now the templates for Fabrik are found inside components, Fabrik, views, and both the form and details views are found within the form folder. It makes them reusable between forms and details views. And you'll then notice that we've got two folders. So the template 2.5 is for the older Joomla Fabrik templates for Joomla 2.5. But if you're using Joomla 3 or 3.1, then the template folder is here. And if you look inside, you've got the default bootstrap template, which is what this currently is outputting. And what we'll go and do is we'll copy that and paste that in and rename that to demo. Okay. Now I'll just change that so that's the only folder we're looking into. So here's our path to the template, and here are all the files that are associated with that template. Now it's a bit daunting to start off with, but you should always start with the default file. This is the first template file that is loaded up, and as you can see there's quite a lot of stuff going on in there. The thing to realise is that the default template is set up to deal with every possible eventuality in the settings you have for Fabrik. So it can be quite daunting to see all this kind of information, but we can quite quickly reduce that down to its essentials. So I'm going to run through that with you right now. I'll try and run through not line by line but section by section. So here we're just creating a shortcut to the form information that contains things like error messages, labels, introductions, etc. The model is a bit more complex object that relates to the form, and so we're going to keep those two in place. The group template is whether we're going to be showing a details view or not. As we're just showing details view, we can remove that line, and then we're going to go down to section about headings, which we can leave in. These are the menu item headings and then the page heading. We're going to echo out the form introduction, so we can keep that in. Here we have a section where we're testing whether the form is editable or not. Here it's never going to be editable, so as it's a details view, so we can just remove that and remove that. Okay, so when we see this, it refers to the template object, and Fabrik assigns various variables to that. One of them is plugin top, and that's any form plugin that inserts HTML into the top or bottom of the top of the form. Sorry, that will be contained there. This is the error message section. Again, as we're showing a details view, we can get rid of that, and just tidy that up a bit. Okay, so this is a pretty standard part of any Joomla component, is that there's a load template method which will load in various sub templates into the main default template. So here we have buttons, which relates to the default _buttons.php template. So I'll open that up, and as you can see, there's a series of if statements that will then add in additional buttons. So altering the option on your form to show the email will then be looked at by this part of code, and if you have set it to yes, then it will show you an email button. So we'll leave that one in, close that down, and we'll leave related data in as well. That's kind of the same concept. I'll just show you the file. So default underscore related data, and it just loops over any related tables and outputs those for you in a list. Okay, so this is the meat of what we tend to do with a Fabrik template, which is this big for loop here, and that kind of covers every eventuality, and it kind of cascades down into lots of other templates that deal with whether it's a repeating group or a repeating group rendered as a table, etc. We've got a very simple layout here, so I'm going to take out all of that. So we've got the for each here, which finishes here, the end for each. So I'm going to select from there back up to here and delete all of that. Already it's looking a lot simpler. We have over 30 odd lines. Again, there's a check if the form is editable. Well, it won't be because we're in a details view template, so we can remove that. Echo this plugin bottom. Well, that's the same idea as further up here where we had plugin top. It's just any content that a form plugin is injected into the bottom of the form. We can leave that. We can leave in the actions buttons, they will be empty. There's a form outro, and then there's more content the plugin may have entered after the end of the form. And the keep alive is for when you're filling in a form. It will stop the user from logging out, but again we don't need that. So we've got a pretty basic form with details template. So let me just save that, and remember that I'd called it demo. So to quickly test, I can go and change the URL here to be layout equals demo, and as you can see there's nothing there. That's to be expected because we're not echoing out any information yet. Okay, so what I want to show here is the main data of the details view. So here we have this groups. As you know, a form in a details view is split into groups which then contain the elements. So we'll do that, and then I refresh the page. We have an array, and you can see that this is the group here, which is an object, and it has various information, the title, etc. And it has a series of elements. These are the elements in the group with various information about them. And what we're going to be interested in, let me find one that makes sense. We'll look at the map, it's the easiest one to see. So the location here, you can see that there's information about how it will be displayed in the default template, whether it's the beginning of a row or the end of a row, what plugin it is, so it's a Google map, is it hidden, what element ID that might be, the class name, etc. What's the most important is the element here that contains the map in read-only mode, and then we have various other things like the value that you can get to. There's kind of several aliases, so element raw is the same as value. Any tips that might appear above the side of it, etc. So same thing with tags here. If you're looking at the code, here's the element read only. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is, first of all, we need to get a reference to the group's elements. So we'll go back to Eclipse and scroll down to here. So we'll assign that to my places. Okay. As we only have one group, we'll just keep it simple. I'll print that out again for you so you can see that we should just have a reference now in elements to this section here. So again, I'll check to make sure that I've done that correctly. That looks pretty good. Okay, so what do I want to do next? I want to add in the name. I'm going to grab the name from that. So I'll just check. We're talking about an array here, so we'd access it like that. And then if you look, it's an array, so we'd access it, try and scroll down to find the right one, by name, and that will return an object with a various set of properties. So when you access an object, you use this selector here, and then it's the element property. So if I can get rid of that. So now if I print out the name, I should see something a lot simpler. Okay. That's great, but again it's still not particularly well laid out. So I'm going to start some markup to work that out, to do something. So div class equals row fluid. So I'm going to make my first row, and I want to have the title that's going to take up 2/3 of the well, give it space, enough space to be 2/3 of the width of the page. So div class equals span 2/3 of 12 is 8, and I'll just fill in the other div as well whilst I'm there. Okay, and then here, as it's a string, I don't need to print it out. I can just echo it out, and I'll comment that out as well. So I'll just put in some dummy test here. Next span, so you can see what's going to happen. So here we go back to our details view. Refresh the page. Oops, what have I done here? And bizarrely enough, it's span 12. Yeah, span 4. So that should then line up here. So if you look, here's a span of 8, and there's a span of 4. Okay, so perhaps we want to remove that placeholder and put in the map. So let's just reprint out our elements. In fact, a little trick you can do to make this a bit more readable is you can just show the keys. That will tell you what elements names you've got. So that's kind of easy to deal with. So there we have the name. What do I want to put over there? I think I want to put the location in that right hand side. So again, I'm doing exactly the same as I did with the name element, except for the location. So that should now contain the map. So then I'll echo that out. I'll see that my map's being placed over here. We might give it a bit more space, so I'm going to change those. I'll increase the width there and decrease that. And whilst I'm here, that's a heading, so subheading I guess, if you had a title on the page. So we'll add that H2 in there. Okay, so that's kind of a bit better now. So we have our span 7 there and our span 5 here. What else have we got? We got the date time, could be useful to know. So just copy that. Again, you can see a pattern forming here. We're going to make a placeholder, get the data, the date data. For now I'll just put it under here. You see, as I try and keep things tidy so that everything's nicely indented. What do I... Singular, there you go. Okay, so there's the date. And maybe I want to put the creator alongside that, but make sure that for some weird reason that it's on the right hand side. So here what I'm going to try and do is create a additional row in here. I'm just going to check that that works. Row 6. Okay, so to do add creator. See, often I just work with little steps to make sure that each thing works, and as you can see there, it didn't work. So I'm going to try and figure out why that is. Okay, let's look at the markup. Well, it's completely wrong. Okay, so we're not dealing with spans, we're dealing with divs. First of all, see, little steps mean that you know when something goes wrong, you know roughly where to look. And the class is span 6, not row 6. Okay, so I'll save that, retest. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. The tags look quite nice, so we're gonna put those in, and we'll put those in a new row here, perhaps underneath that. They might take up the whole space, so we'll put that in as a new row. So that's the row for the date and the creator. Let's add in the creator first whilst we're here. Okay, again, let's just check that to make sure that, yay, it's my house. Okay, so we want to add in a new row after this one we've just added. But it's going to be the whole width. Span 12. And what did I say? I wanted to put in the tags. So let's add in tags here. Go back to the browser, check that out. Okay, great. Kind of works well. Just to show you the offset. offset 4, and make him a width of 8. So I think that should kind of make the tag start here rather than at the same start of the line. Yep, great. Kind of odd in this context to do that, but why not? And then okay, I think that's all the information I want to show on this page. So let's remove this section here. Don't need that anymore. That's just for our own personal use. So we can delete that, and delete that. Save. Just review that. Okay. The other thing that I want to do is I want to make that the permanent template. Currently we're just testing by adding that into the URL, but if I remove that, obviously we go back to the details template that was selected in the form when we edit the form. So let's quickly go to the administrator. Check my places. Okay, edit the form here. Layout. So this is the front end templates, and that was the default one, and we want to select the demo, and then go back here and refresh the page. And now, if you see here, we got the standard URL and the custom details template. Okay, so that's all for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed listening to it, and I look forward to speaking to you for the next tutorial. Goodbye.